Thanks to Baron of Dice, Grey Matter Gaming, and Monument Hobbies for sponsoring this video. What do you get the Chapter Master who has everything? With so many detachments in the Space Marine Codex, let alone the variant chapters, where could we possibly go next? As you may have guessed from the name, the Librarius Conclave leans in on everyone's favorite Galaxy Brain Space Marine Psychers, the humble Librarian. This detachment echoes some of the classic psychic disciplines from editions of yore, with psychic abilities and buffs as thematic as they are effective on the tabletop. If, like any good librarian, you prefer the written word to the spoken one, head on over to goonhammer.com and read our companion article. Link in the description. Detachment Rule: Psychic Disciplines. At the start of each battle round, you can select one psychic discipline to be active until the end of the battle round. All of your Adeptus Astartes Psyker units get the effect. There are 5 to pick from. Biomancy, for plus 2 inches to move. Divination, reroll hit and wound rolls of 1. Pyromancy, plus 1 AP for ranged attacks against enemy units within 12 inches. Telekinesis, minus 1 strength for enemy ranged attacks targeting your unit. And Telepathy, ignore any or all modifiers to weapon skill, ballistic skill, and or the hit roll. This is a flexible set of options that should always give you something relevant to pick from each battle round. Note that attaching a Psyker to a unit is what gives it this ability, so your Librarians are handing these out to their entire units. Also, a quick reminder that Inquisitors exist and can attach to battle line units. This mostly doesn't help you, but a small unit of your newly buffed Intercessors with Inquisitor Draxus can be a fun piece to play with. That might get FAQ'd later, but it's funny for now. Each enhancement here interacts with one or more of your psychic disciplines, getting a bonus if a specific discipline is active. All of them must be taken on a Psyker, and Prescience cannot be taken on a Terminator model. Speaking of, Prescience gives its unit a pretty standard reactive move when an enemy unit comes within 9 inches. Move d6 inches normally, or a flat 6 in the Divination discipline. Celerity lets its unit advance and charge, plus fallback and charge in Biomancy. Stack advance and charge with a brick of plus 2 inch movement Terminators and let her rip. Obfuscation makes its unit untargetable by Overwatch, and if the Telepathy discipline is active, they can't be shot by units outside of 18 inches. It's powerful and great for protecting units holding objectives in the open. Fusillade lets you double dip, granting anti-monster and anti-vehicle 5-up to shooting attacks, with sustained hits 1 with Pyromancy or plus 6 inch range with Telekinesis. This is absolutely fantastic on a unit of Hellblasters or Stern Guard. Like the enhancements, each of the stratagems has some kind of interaction with the psychic disciplines. Well, except for Armor of Contempt, which works the same here as it does anywhere else, though note that for a phase wording no longer applies thanks to today's data slate update. Sensory Assault slows down an enemy unit within 18 inches of one of your Psyker units and hits them with a Battle Shock test at -1 if you're in the Telepathy discipline. Problem is that it goes off in the command phase, and being within 18 inches of an enemy unit then is a little tricky. Fiery Shield lives up to the name, granting a -1 to be hit on a friendly unit near one of your Psyker models. In the Pyromancy discipline, it gets extremely funny, making enemy weapons that target that unit hazardous. Stop exploding yourself, idiot. Iron Arm is a flexible melee buff, with a nearby Psyker raising the strength of melee attacks on a unit by 1 or 2 in the Biomancy discipline. We've seen what plus 2 strength can do with the Liberator Assault group, and this can help your dudes hit some solid breakpoints. Assail essentially lets one of your Psyker units throw grenades from 18 inches away, rolling 6 dice and causing a mortal wound on each 4-up or each 3-up in the Telekinesis discipline. There's a specific note that it can't target lone operatives though, so even if you could shoot them normally, you can't hit them with the old brain grenade. Prescient Precision takes the prize for most alliterative tongue twister in this detachment. It lets one of your Psyker units apply lethal hits to their shooting attacks, plus ignores cover if the Divination discipline is active. This is a great look on a unit of Hellblasters, especially with Divination up. You may have noticed that all of these stratagems and enhancements either only work on units that are Psykers or on units near Psykers. As a result, you'll need to consider what units your Librarians can join, and perhaps even more crucially, which ones they can't. Librarians can't attach to units like Blade Guard or Aggressors, don't hit terribly hard, and are pretty squishy overall. That said, they're relatively cheap, and the effects from this detachment are very good, so there's potential here. An obvious one is attaching a Librarian to a unit of Hellblasters, who love pretty much all of the disciplines, get great benefit from the 4-up invulnerable save from Mental Fortress, and like Prescient Precision and Pyromancy-powered Fusillade a lot. While it's a shame you can't get a Librarian onto a unit of Blade Guard, you can put them on Stern Guard, who just got a handy buff. Attaching a Fusillade Librarian to them allows you to put some horrific firepower into an Oathed monster or vehicle. With Pyromancy active, you're rerolling sustained hits and anti-5-up devastating wounds. A squad of 10 in rapid fire range will do an awful lot of damage. With the Librarian shooting as well, you're within touching distance of being able to one-shot a knight, and you can of course soften it up with an assail or grenade stratagem beforehand if needed. More low-key, but still good, is Unit of Eliminators with a Phobos Librarian and Prescience. Reactive moves are great for keeping those fragile guys alive, even when used aggressively. It isn't all about shooting though. You can attach the appropriate Librarians to Assault Intercessors or Terminators, both of which like the extra movement and the ability to advance and charge with Celerity and the +2 strength from Biomancy. The Terminator Librarian handing out sustained hits 1 on baseline means that your suddenly fleet-of-foot Terminator brick can be putting out an awful lot of attacks. Meanwhile, although regular Librarians can't attach to Blade Guard, Tigurius can, so there's another reason to run Ultramarines as if one were needed. It's also worth thinking about what variant chapters can do here. Mephiston, of course, is very funny with all this. Who doesn't love that guy with extra movement range? On the other half of the classic Angels of Death, Inner Circle companions can be joined by a Librarian, and get great mileage out of Iron Arm and Celerity. Let's go over the strengths and weaknesses here. When you get them rolling, the effects of this detachment are very powerful. You'll finally learn what units Librarians can be attached to. There's excellent synergy between the detachment rule, stratagems, and enhancements. On the downside, there's limited benefits to non-psyker units here. Librarians also aren't that great on their own, and this detachment relies heavily on them. It probably helps Divergent chapters more than the Codex Marines who really need it. The Dark Angels as Inner Circle companions with the Librarian, and Mephiston for the Blood Angels both get more out of this detachment than Codex Marines generally will. Librarians have been underutilized in 10th edition, as the bonuses they provide have generally been underwhelming compared to other leader options, but this detachment changes that, bringing in classic Psychic Discipline themes and flexibility, and rewarding you heavily for including a scattering of Librarians among your units. There's only so many Psyker units you can get into a Space Marines army before you're spending entirely too many points on mediocre characters, but what's here is cohesive, interesting, and fun, with powerful effects throughout the detachment rule, enhancements, and stratagems. Pour one out for Librarian Dreadnoughts though, they would have loved this. If you want to delve deeper into the tomes of the Librarius, head on over to goonhammer.com to read more about this detachment and how we're planning on dusting off all our Librarian models to use it. You can also back us on Patreon for even more forbidden knowledge. We'd also like to thank our sponsors, Baron of Dice, Monument Hobbies, and Grey Matter Gaming for sponsoring this video. I've been Codicier McLexicanum, reminding you all that having fun isn't hard when you've got a library card. Thanks for watching.